House Cawdor. On the hive world of Necromunda, you're born into the crushing gears of the great houses, breathing recycled filth while your life is measured in the blood you spill for the clan. We're diving into that obsessive turf wars for scraps in the Underhive, starting with the fanatical rise of House Cawdor. They are the house of faith and the muscle for the redemptionist cult, acting as the voice of the desperate poor in the lowest levels. The cult traces its roots back to M39 within Corderius Brain, whose sacred seizure after a factory accident sparked a movement, an event his followers view as a holy awakening, though skeptics suggest it was merely severe brain trauma. Today, House Cawdor lives by a strict mandate of anonymity, where every single one of them keeps their face hidden behind masks or hoods. Led by priest Thane Mormer from the Palace of Bones, the hierarchy trickles down to the bone pickers. A Cawdor ganger might be a trash collector by day and an assassin by night. As Necromunda's most populous clan and the widest reach in the Great Waste, Cawdor's ranks are constantly replenished by child harvesters who scour the hive for lost or abandoned youth. This massive population allows their fighters to blend invisibly into the workforce as dockers or scavengers, effectively hiding a fanatical army in plain sight. They wear patchwork armor and carry salvage guns held together by prayers and scrap metal. Their favorite weapon is the flamer because to a redemptionist, fire is everything. It's the tool they use to cleanse the world. Their big plan is to spiritually purify Necromunda by wiping out mutants and heretics, or what they call infidels. And at the heart of it all is the prophet of the redemption, a faceless voice whose sermons inspire the masses. House Van Saar. At the top of Necromunda's hive society sits House Van Saar, where the view is never cheap. They're the wealthiest, most high-tech group among the clan houses, building the kind of elite gear that noble families in the upper spire pay a fortune to own. Their fighters don't look like the typical gutter scum. They wear sleek, full-body survival suits that cover every inch of skin, packed with sensors and toxin filters. Most other gangs only ever see Van Saar tech when it's pointed directly at them, usually in the form of high-end plasma or radiation weapons. The house stays close to the money and deep inside the power structures that keep Necromunda running. An inner circle called the Archaeotechs manages everything. They control access to the most sensitive technology and handle the alliances that stretch across noble houses and powerful guilds. But there is a dark irony. The damaged ancient tech powering their success is slowly killing them. It leaks radiation that their suits can only partially block, meaning every member of the house is living on borrowed time. For Van Saar, those suits are literally life support. The more senior a member becomes, the more their body is ravaged by radiation sickness. For centuries, the entire house has been quietly obsessed with a single goal, either repair the technology or find a cure, but so far, they've come up empty on both. House Escher. They are the oldest clan house on Necromunda, with roots going all the way back to the warrior women known as the Blades in M32. The House Escher is almost entirely female, as a plague leaves the few men born into the lineage with severe genetic defects. They effectively run the planet's chemistry, and 90% of all the stims produced on Necromunda come from their labs, which gives them massive leverage over everyone else. Even the high-tech Van Saar rely on Escher meds to survive their own radiation sickness. An Escher ganger is impossible to miss. They go for a striking, high-contrast look, elaborate hair, neon colors, and armor layered over form-fitting bodysuits. They claim the mid-levels of the hive as their territory. It's the perfect spot, close enough to the upper city to feed the habits of the rich, but deep enough in the underhive to guard the trade routes that protect their monopoly. On the battlefield, they are the masters of customized damage, with needle rifles, plasma pistols, and power swords, backed up by a massive variety of toxins tailored for any target. If an enemy is heavily armored or incredibly fast, the Escher usually have a specific chemical cocktail designed to shut them down. House Escher aims for total dominance of the hive's chemical trade, and they are nearly there. Their legends match their vibrant, lethal style. Mad Donna Yulanti, a rogue noblewoman, remains the Underhive's most chaotic icon. Belladonna, a disgraced noble turned elite assassin, while Yolanda Scorn operates as a cynical bounty hunter. House Goliath. The bioengineers from Van Saar and Escher literally grew them in vats to work the refineries and forges where a normal human would die in minutes. Goliaths are massive and chemically jacked for pure endurance, but during the 100 Cycle War, they broke their chains and built a culture around the only thing that ever mattered to them: strength. They wear heavy chains and metal bracers over physiques shaped by forged labor and medical enhancement. With their mohawks and heavy scarification, they treat their own bodies like suits of armor. Their territory is down in the deep forge levels, the places the rest of the hive tries to forget exist. It's a nightmare of extreme heat, toxic air, and constant industrial noise. They run the foundries and produce more refined metal than any of their rivals. Their gear is blunt and oversized, and they use renderizer axes and massive bolt guns. There's a catch though: they're addicted to those stim injectors to keep fighting long after their bodies should have given out. Ajax Gorgoth is one of the most powerful alphas on the hive. Then there's Jangar Gunfist, a former over-tyrant who now wanders the ash wastes as a blank slate. His memory is gone, but his killer instinct is fully intact. House Orlock. They call them the House of Iron, mostly because the Orlocks are the miners and road warriors who built an empire on slag heaps and the brutal ash waste routes between hive cities. An Orlock ganger's look is all heavy boots, leather, and chains. Their gear has been patched up so many times that the repairs are basically part of the aesthetic. Inside the hive, they scrap for territory like everyone else, but outside, they run the convoys and tax the travel routes. They literally own the dirt, and they know that if they stop working, the ore stops flowing, and if the ore stops, the whole system above them collapses. When things get loud, they rely on autoguns and heavy stubbers. They also bring plenty of close combat hardware for anyone foolish enough to try and take what's theirs. Their signature move is using those cybermastiffs, which are trained to work as both scouts and living weapons in tight spaces. If the house has a face, it's Slate Merdina. As the road boss of the Sump Dogs, he's become more of a myth than a man. People say he's impossible to kill, with rumors of him taking bullets to the chest, blades between the shoulders, or even being thrown under the wheels of his own rig. Yet somehow, he's still out there running the ash roads. House Delaque. Their only business is information, and the unspoken threat of what they might do with it. Their fighters look like nothing else in the hive, tall, thin, and hairless, with pale skin pulled tight over angular frames. They wear long, dark storm coats filled with deep internal pockets for hidden weapons and recording devices. Their eyes are usually covered by goggles or light filters because they choose to keep their corner of the hive darker than anywhere else. They operate everywhere but belong nowhere, as Delaque agents move silently through every noble house, every clan, and every guild in Hive Primus. They feed everything they hear back to a central group called the Star Chamber, though nobody can actually confirm who sits on that council. They also have a formal arrangement with House Helmar that gives them a level of legitimacy no other house can match. Essentially, they serve as the planetary governor's private intelligence service, whether or not he'd ever admit it out loud. They use web guns to cocoon targets, long rifles for distance, and psychoteric whispers to break an enemy's mind before a shot is fired. Their elite knocked ghouls move so fast they're inside your formation before you've even registered a shadow. Corpse Grinder Cults. Deep below the Hive City lies the Underhive, a lawless, pitch-black sprawl where the machines have failed and the only rule is whoever has the biggest gun. This is where the Corpse Grinder cults find their people. They recruit from those who have reached the absolute end of their rope, people who spent their lives processing corpse starch for food and eventually found a dark god. Their fighters are massive, blood-stained butchers wearing armor made from the bones and skin of their victims. They are outlaws in every sense of the word. In a fight, they are pure, aggressive melee. These fighters build momentum as the battle goes on, getting more dangerous the more blood they spill. But the corpse grinders aren't the only nightmare lurking down there. Gene stealer cults are the invisible rot. They hollow out the hive from within, infecting workers and nobles to prepare for a tyrannid invasion that may be a century away. Other chaos cults operate in the shadows, and they all share that outlaw status and a love for close quarters violence. But the specific dark god determines the brand of horror. Waste Nomads. Past the lowest levels of the Underhive and through the collapsed tunnels at the base of the city lies the surface. The problem is the surface of Necromunda is a death sentence. It's toxic, irradiated, and scoured by ash storms strong enough to strip the skin right off your bones. But the Waste Nomads live out there anyway. Their riders are wrapped from head to toe in treated leather and heavy breathing gear, using scarves and goggles to block out the biting wind. They ride sand bikes and dune buggies that have been rebuilt so many times that the original parts are long gone. They raid caravans and settlements when they need to, then vanish into terrain that kills anyone brave enough to follow. On the battlefield, they are all about mobility. They thrive on hit-and-run tactics in wide open spaces, and their only weakness is a fair fight. Slave Ogryns. Ogryns on Necromunda are basically laborer abhumans, put to work by House Goliath and others in manufactorums and fighting pits. Some of them actually develop a sense of identity while they're in those pits. But when they manage to break free, they come together and form groups. These slave Ogryn gangs can be found in the bad zones, led by whoever is the strongest and clever enough to keep everyone united, often former pit slaves, rogue bodyguards, or even a human outlaw who has gained their trust. Among them, you'll find Bones, or brain-obedient Neo-Sapien cybernetic exo-workers. These heavily modified servitors have limited free will, but are fiercely loyal to their leader. Their weapons are often only rock drills and buzzsaws, but they're nearly unbeatable in tight spaces. The Enforcers. For all the chaos of cannibals and cults, the Imperium's answer is the Palanite Enforcers. They look like they belong to a different game entirely, with their clean, matching armor and disciplined training. Recruited from distant hives to ensure they have no local friends or debts, these officers have their identities stripped away and replaced by a squad that becomes their only family. They push down into the Underhive where the law barely exists, leading local watchmen and bounty hunters against the darkness. The hierarchy runs from the Lord Provost Marshal down to 6 trooper patrols, and their gear outclasses almost any gang featuring carapace armor, suppression shields, and executioner shotguns. Their job is to keep the chaos managed rather than stopping it, as the gangs actually help keep the economy moving and the population distracted. The most famous face is Scrutinator Primus Servalin with her cybermastiff called KB-88. She is an investigator who has taken down more gangs than anyone else. Thank you for joining me in exploring the fever dreams and the grimdark reality of the Underhive gangs. Let me know in the comments which one owns your allegiance, and see you in the next one.